Whoa, that was close. Here, take these, you'll need them. I have never had to hold back tears so much while playing a game like I did when playing The Walking Dead. Telltale games have made quite possibly the most emotional story game I have ever played. As a huge fan of the zombie genre, I've always found myself disappointed at the options available when it comes to a game set in a zombie world. They always seem to lack the realism that we see in our favourite shows, either being way over the top or simply just being incredibly disappointing. However, the Walking Dead Telltale game combines fantastic story writing with superb character designs, making the game so easy to transport yourself into and to relate to the characters. The Walking Dead is similar to other story games where decisions that I make can alter future outcomes. However, with this game, I found that a lot of the decisions are more important in forming character relationships, whereas if a character is going to have an unfortunate ending to their time, it will usually always happen, but the way it happens is caused by our decisions. There are multiple seasons of this game, with each one being split into different episodes. There's 5 of them in this season, and we'll go through each one in this video as I review and tell my story of my playthrough. Get ready for an incredibly emotion-filled journey through the apocalyptic world of The Walking Dead. We begin our story as Lee, the only character that we'll play through in this season of the game. We're sat in the back of a cop car on the way to prison for committing a crime which isn't confirmed as of yet. The policeman driving us is rather chill, and he makes conversation with us as we look out the window, seeing rushes of police cars and even helicopters heading towards the city that we've just left. The officer makes a rude comment about our wife, which makes Lee turn into a Minecraft zombie. And he pays the price for his unnecessary comment by ploughing straight into a wandering person. We wake up from losing our consciousness in the flipped over cop car, smashing the window open to crawl out. The policeman's definitely seen better days, sprawled out on the floor, leaving a trail of ketchup behind him. We clearly can tell something's up, so we grab the handcuff keys with some hesitation, eventually freeing ourselves. The officer's obviously unhappy with us, twitching with rage before he launches himself towards us, knocking Lee to the ground. Shuffling back towards the car, we find the undead cop's shotgun, fumbling with the shell before taking out our first zombie of the game, just in time. That's when we spot a person watching us in the forest, and with some more zombies beginning their hunt, we follow the person in hope of safety. Can I just mention how much I adore the art style of this game? This game was made in 2012, and is somewhat based on the comic books released first in 2003. I love how they decided to go for this comic-y art style, with thick heavy lines as details on some of the designs. And whilst using this art style, I still feel it looks kind of realistic. At no point did I really break the fourth wall myself, and remember I was playing a video game. Rather felt like I was watching a movie or TV show. As well with this art style, no one can really complain about bad graphics like they would with other games made in the same year. It means that this game can continue to look amazing even when games look more and more like real life as years go on. Lee survives being turned into rotten meat for now, finding himself seeking help in a small neighbourhood. He knocks on the door of a house to no response, entering via the unlocked door regardless. It seems he might struggle to find aid at this house, even slipping on some ketchup that had been left on the floor. Seriously, the people in this city need to keep control of their condiments. We find a walkie-talkie in the kitchen drawer, and a voicemail on the house phone tells us that the homeowners weren't home when the zombies took over, and they don't sound too good.
We love you. We love you.
Man. The voice of a little girl comes over the walkie-talkie, introducing herself as Clementine. She'd been left at the house with her babysitter and had been hiding in a treehouse since the apocalypse started. The babysitter introduces herself to Lee by trying to eat his fucking face. He slips on the ketchup again, crawling and kicking himself away before Clementine comes to the rescue, handing us a hammer to dispatch of the babysitter. She tells Lee that she wants to find her parents, who'd been staying in Savannah, so we let her know that we'll keep her safe until we find them. The characters in this game are designed so well, and the friendships, or not so friendships, formed between them all seems so genuine, making any losses in this game so upsetting. The scripting and voice acting are all perfect, and the characters seem genuinely real, and the partnership of Lee and Clem here is up there with the best in any video game. Lee and Clem flee before night comes, coming across Sean and Chet. Yeah, I've never heard that name before either. They're trying to move this blockade of cars to drive their pickup truck back to Sean's farm, before this horde of zombies eats them alive. We help them move the cars with some very useful help from Clementine, hopping in the truck with them just before the zombies reach us. We arrive at Sean's farm as night falls, and Chet leaves, never to be seen again, as he heads home in time for dinner. We meet Sean's dad, named Herschel, and he treats the wound on our leg that we'd received from the car crash with the policeman. He shows some suspicion to Lee, wondering why we were in a car with a policeman in the first place, and he's also concerned about why we're looking after Clementine if we aren't her father.
Honey, do you know this man?
Yes.
He allows us to stay for the night in the barn, along with another family who are staying for the night too.
It smells like...
Shit.
That was a swear.
And in the morning, we meet them, with Kenny introducing himself to us, along with his veterinarian wife Katja and their son Duck.
Dodging or quacking?
Quacking.
Dad!
See?
Kenny invites us to join him as he plans on driving out to find safety, agreeing to drop Lee off in his hometown of Macon on the way. We have a quick chat with Catcher before helping Sean barricade his fence. A lot of time spent in between important moments in this game involves having a talk with the other characters in the group in order to build their opinions on you as well as getting to know them better. We help Sean chop up some wood as Duck begins his continuous streak of being an annoyance in this game, just yapping on the tractor while Sean's trying to get to work. You'll probably soon find Duck to be quite the nuisance, acting just like a hyperactive 10-year-old would, not adapted for the apocalypse at all. Finally, we head back to the barn to speak to Herschel again, who asks us about our past and gives us advice for looking after Clementine, but his TED talk is cut short from some distant screams. Sean has his leg trapped under the tractor tyre, courtesy of Duck, with zombies ever so close to breaking down the fence. Duck gets grabbed too, and when given the choice of who to help, we rush to Sean to try and pull him free. Kenny runs over, grabbing Duck, and then leaving? He couldn't put Duck down and then help Sean? We try to push the tractor, but as it won't budge, Sean is taken and bitten right in front of his father's eyes. Herschel quite rightly loses his shit at Kenny, demanding him to leave, but still appreciating our effort to save Sean. With Kenny as our safest option out though, we leave with him to Macon. We pull up, and it's already obvious that Macon won't be somewhere to stay, with zombies crawling out from any space they can. Duck has the spatial awareness of Helen Keller and is pinned down by a zombie from behind. And, unlucky for us, he's saved just before getting munched on. We flee to this pharmacy where another group resides for the moment. We're met with mixed responses, with Carly, Glenn and Doug welcoming us in, whereas Lily and her dick of a father Larry ridicule the rest of the group for letting us in. Clementine interrupts the argument between their group with an important statement.
I have to pee.
Before Larry makes a strong accusation that Duck has been bit and that he needs to be killed before he turns. If you've seen my Heavy Rain videos, you'll know that Officer Blake was a major dickhead at literally every breathing moment. And Larry here is the exact same. He'll do anything and everything to make sure he gets his own way and that he has no risk of endangering himself, whilst also using the excuse that he's doing it to save his daughter Lily. Kenny defends Duck as we back our boy, telling him to beat the shit out of Larry, who literally just suggested to smash Duck's head in, right in front of him. He goes on to suggest that Duck is going to sink his teeth into Catcher before attacking Clementine too, and threatening her is the last straw for Lee.
You want to get violent, you old fuck? Well, come on! You better have a plan to kill me, though, because it's me before anyone else in here!
Oh!
Clementine!
Everyone stands and watches as Lee rushes over to throw the zombie off of Clem, wrestling with it until finally Carly helps us. We thank her, but maybe shooting wasn't the best idea, as we may have attracted some attention. Unexplained gunfire outside gives us a break from keeping silence, which is ideal for Larry as he gets to talk absolute shit once again. If you hadn't already guessed, Larry has a considerable problem with his anger, which isn't a superb pairing with his heart condition, which gets heightened by increased stress and anger, causing him to hit the floor. He has to take medication for his issue, which despite me not really wanting to, we agree to help. We are hiding in a pharmacy after all. We go around the group getting to know the new faces, speaking to Glenn, who decides to head out on a side quest to find fuel, so we hand him our walkie-talkie and to let Clementine know if he's in trouble. We also speak to Carly about what she was doing before all this began. She lets us know that she was a reporter, and that if it weren't for Doug, who was her co-worker, she'd have been bitten. Oh, and also that she's unaware that batteries are needed for a radio to work. We speak to Doug about finding a way out of the pharmacy, so we head outside to the somewhat safety of the locked barricade to get a view of what may help us on the street. We spot a walker trapped underneath a telephone pole, who by his ID badge worked at the pharmacy that we're trapped in. The plan that we come up with is to get the keys off of his body to unlock the door to the medication room, but that won't be so easy with the number of zombies strolling around out there. We continue searching around the pharmacy, finding a couple of snacks and some batteries which Carly can use for her radio. We catch up with Kenny, who thanks us for standing up for him, and Catcher assures us that Duck is okay, just shook up from nearly becoming dinner earlier. This is the point in which Lee confirms to Catcher that his family actually own the very pharmacy they're in, and his brother is the man trapped outside. His parents are nowhere to be found, and he assumes they're both dead. Kenny also tells Lee that he regrets not helping Sean earlier at the farm, but we decide to let him know that it was okay, and that any father would have put their own son first. After Lily tries defending her dad's actions to Lee, we check up on Clem by handing her one of the energy bars we'd found. She tells us she hasn't heard from Glenn yet, so running out of conversation, Lee starts trying to practice his fathering skills by telling Clem of his favourite inspirational quote.
Yeah, I think so. Being good is good.
It is so amazing to see how Lee develops throughout this season. At first, he really doesn't seem to know what to do, caring after a little girl. But it is so wholesome to see how close him and Clementine become over time, and how protective he becomes. As we head into the back office, we learn that Lee's parents most certainly didn't have a positive outcome, with blood covering the floor. We find a family photo of his, which is when Carly comes in and breaks some news to us. As Carly is a news reporter, she knows why Lee was being taken to prison at the beginning of the game. He had murdered his wife and the state senator, as they'd been having an affair behind his back. Carly agrees to keep this between themselves, but warns Lee that eventually he should make people aware, as if someone like Larry, for example, is to find out, it could end devastatingly for Lee. We don't find anything of much importance in the office, except Lee's dad's cane, which may prove useful later. When we head back outside with Doug to see if I'd missed anything in the street, the game bugs out for the only time in my playthrough, but still provides quite the funny scene in which every time one of them speaks, it just switches from crotch to crotch, making for quite an awkward conversation. Back inside, Clem finally hears from Glenn, who says he's in desperate help out on his expedition, asking for backup at the motel nearby. Before heading out with Carly, we find a TV remote in the office, which will come in handy when we're back, but for now, we have to go find Glenn. The motel certainly seems a bit empty, with only a few zombies defending the place. A couple noises from this ice machine causes some concern, but it's only Glenn, who'd been hiding from the 5 zombies. Come on man, it's a massive open space and you are that scared of 5 zombies? He tells us that there's a girl hiding in one of the rooms, and that she refused his help when he'd gone up to try and be the hero. We have to be clever if we want to sneak our way up to the room to help her, so we begin by grabbing a pillow that was left on the ground to smother the zombie lent up against his car, which allows Carly to shoot it, with the pillow acting as a silencer. I was actually really curious to see if this worked in real life, and after watching a video of a man shooting a watermelon, I can confirm it does. Well, kinda. The shot is definitely not silent like it is in the game, but with a game about zombies, can you really expect it to be perfectly true to real life? Inside the car he was lent against, we find a spark plug, which Glenn breaks to find some material which, when thrown against the car window, makes it shatter immediately. We use this to break into a pickup truck to grab a screwdriver that was left on the seat, and with this, we take out the 2 stragglers before heading back over to the car, turning off the handbrake and letting it roll into the big guy over here. We take him out with a screwdriver and grab the fire axe, which will come in handy to take out the 2 zombies at the door and then to take off the barricades. The lady inside reluctantly comes out, revealing that she was hiding herself as she'd been bitten in the side.
I won't be fine. My boyfriend was bitten. You get sick and you die and you come back and you kill anything you can find.
You have a boyfriend?
Glenn?
She begs us to give her Carly's gun, as she's desperate not to turn into a zombie too. And despite Carly not trusting her, I decide it's the most humane decision to make, as Glenn and Carly leave, with us staying to pick up the gun afterwards. Back at the pharmacy, we have everything we need to unlock the medicine room. We head back outside with Doug, using the remote that we'd found earlier to turn on all the TVs in the store across the street. They don't quite make enough noise to distract all the zombies entirely, so we use the fire axe to break the lock of the gate, opening it enough to grab a nearby brick, and throwing it at the glass front to let the TV static noise escape. Camouflaged by the loud noise, Lee sneaks over to his zombified brother to get the keys that Larry desperately needs.
Assume that's what happened.
Did you find them yet?
Oh, shut the fuck up! Why are you yelling? Lee tearfully takes out his brother with multiple axe swings. But now, we have the keys. But with Doug shouting earlier, the zombies know we're here, so we have to rush back inside. Lily thanks us for getting the keys as we both head into the office to finally grab the pills.
Oh no.
With the alarm going off, our building is now basically a massive dinner bell, and all the customers are very hungry. Kenny takes our axe to run out to the alley to get his truck working, whilst Glenn, Carly and Doug are on door duty. We take over, holding the door shut, while Carly and Doug start getting sentimental with one another. The wholesome moment is abruptly stopped as the hungry crowd outside slam down the window barricade. With a final resort, Carly begins taking out as many zombies as she can, whilst we send Clemmy to find something to jam between the door handles, returning with Lee's dad's cane that we'd found earlier. Despite the doors being locked, the persistent zombies get a hold of both Carly and Doug, leaving us to make a horrible decision. Oh shit. Oh, we have to decide, don't we? Fuck's sake. We run to Carly's purse, handing her extra ammo to take out her attackers, leaving Doug to become our second casualty of the group. Kenny has his truck ready, so it's time to leave. That is until Clementine gets grabbed again. We stomp the zombie off of her, before finally making our way out of the store. What the fuck? Someone help me! Kenny!
I'm not letting somebody else get eaten today.
Okay, Kenny, you're now a true MVP. But Larry, I'm not forgetting that. We all make it to the motel from earlier and we catch up with everyone. This is the last time we see Glenn in the game, as he tells us he wants to leave to Atlanta where he believes his friends to be. I was quite upset we didn't get to see him again, especially since his character in the show is so iconic and lovable. Kenny says he's set on staying on the move, whilst Clementine's sad because when she got grabbed in the pharmacy, she dropped her walkie-talkie, breaking it in the process. Larry brings us over and he asks us what we think of his daughter Lily. Lee says that he thinks she's great, but her dad did kind of try and kill him. That's when Larry excuses himself by saying it was because he knows that Lee is a convicted murderer. He tells us to stay away from Lily or all hell will break loose, and the power to the motel goes out as the first episode ends. Episode 2 begins 3 months later, with Lee and a new member of the group named Mark, who are on the hunt for food, with the group still at the motel and on the verge of starvation. We learn that Lily has become the leader of the group and is control of the food rationing from the large supply that Mark had when the group found him. Kenny has also supposedly mentioned how he plans to leave with Catcher and Duck if he's able to fix the RV that's been sat in the motel car park, since tensions have been rising with him and Lily regarding the power of the group. Times have become desperate, to the point in which even taking out a crow could help feed us, so Mark lines up his shot. Bruh. Oh shit.
Is that Kenny?
I don't know. Come on.
We chase the screams to find a guy with his leg caught in a bear trap, along with 2 college kids, Travis and Ben. Travis would rather us just leave, as he fears that we could be the group that had recently raided their camp, but Ben insists that we help them, and with an incoming group of zombies, we need to make our decision quick. The bear trap has been altered by somebody to not have a switch to release it, so with no other options, the man takes an axe to the leg. With the horde approaching, we pick up the man and go to leave, but Travis finds himself shook by the incident, doing the classic stumble in the woods before being eaten alive, as we manage to flee with Ben coming along. We return to the motel, with Lily and Larry furious that we brought 2 more people back to the group, seeing as we're already struggling for food. Us and Mark both agree that it would have been wrong to leave them out there, and they'll only need our help for a little bit. Kenny and Lily continue to argue over power, and to avoid a dead old man, Lily sends Larry away to de-stress by working on reinforcing the motel wall. Lily remains furious at us, seemingly struggling with all the difficult decisions that come with leading a group in the apocalypse. With this, she tells Lee to hand out the rations for the evening instead of her, so we can know how hard she has it. Lily really starts to show her father's side more and more in episode 2, struggling to keep her cool and shifting a lot of blame onto the other characters. We of course give the first bit of food to Clementine.
Sunday would be better next time.
I'll keep that in mind.
And she then asks us to give Duck some, which we reluctantly give in to. Still giving him the worst option though. Clem tells us that she's also lost her hat, so we let her know we'll find it for her as she goes back to playing with Duck. Catcher ejects our food off her under the stress of the legless man she's trying to deal with, so we finally give the last 2 pieces to Ben and Mark, which of course Larry's upset about. But how did he really expect me to want to feed him over anyone else in the group? Catcher calls us and Kenny over to tell us that the man couldn't make it, losing too much blood. She asks us what to do with Ben, which is when I get completely jump scared. I literally almost swiped my monitor off my desk when I was rewatching this in editing. We wrestle with the man as Mark somehow completely misses his axe swing, lodging it into the car, and with Mark's incompetence to swing an axe, we rely on Carly again to take out the zombie. Larry loses his mind at us for bringing him in the first place. Kenny then asks us why Ben hadn't told us the man had been bitten, which is when he breaks the news to the group. The group had never actually seen someone turn into a zombie without being bitten before, so we're completely unaware of the fact that actually everyone's infected. Whenever and however you die, it doesn't matter. You'll still become a zombie unless the brain is destroyed. As the guy had only died from losing blood, that's why he turned. This breaking news is brushed away by Carly, who points her gun at 2 guys outside the motel. These 2 brothers are asking for some spare gas, as they rely on it to run their generators that fuel the electric fences surrounding their dairy farm. They offer us trade for food in return for some gas, so we oblige, heading to check their place out with Mark, Ben and Carly. We make sure to let them know we aren't afraid to retaliate if any nonsense happens, which is when aggressive voices in the woods forces them to duck down and hide. Ben tells us the man in the balaclava is from the group that had raided his camp, and as their argument over a trade boils over, the masked man completely annihilates the other man. I think he's dead, mate. We finally make it to the farm, where the characters finally properly introduce themselves, with Andrew, Danny, and their mother Brenda living on the farm. The place practically looks untouched, and they even bake fresh bread. With their only cow ill though, Mark suggests bringing the whole group down so that Catcher can attempt to look after it. Brenda agrees and even offers to cook us dinner for the night. As Carly and Ben head back to the motel to bring back the rest of the group, Lee and Mark decide to take a walk around, making sure the electric fence is all intact. So Andy shuts off the electricity for us to take a look. We push some of the dead bodies off to prevent the fence collapsing, part of it already down with a heavy zombie resting on it. As we step over to lift it up, the electricity suddenly comes back on, almost as if Andy is trying to fry us like the zombies, understandably causing Lee and Mark to grow concerned, but not concerned enough to be aware of the fucking arrow flying into Mark's back. The masked man has his whole group here, seeking revenge for a deal that the dairy farm had supposedly broken. We hide behind a tractor and push it along for cover to reach the gate. We get back to alert the brothers and Brenda just as the rest of the group arrive too. Brenda takes Mark in to deal with his wound, while Andy and Danny explain that the group known as the Bandits caused trouble from the beginning, killing some of their farmhands in order to strike a deal in which the dairy farm must continuously provide them food to avoid any more killing. Danny tells us he knows where one of their camps are, preparing Lee for a small excursion to try and take them out. As the brothers walk off, Kenny suggests we should maybe look to take over the farm if it comes to it, especially as we outnumber the family, but Larry insists we stay on our best behaviour until we've eaten dinner. Carly and Ben have stayed back at the motel to keep watch, and Andy's even fixed the swing for Duck and Clementine. With not much else to do, we head out with Danny to find the nearby bandit camp. We find the camp pretty quickly thanks to a trail of empty cans left on the ground. With a quick scout, it looks very abandoned, and as expected, no one's to be seen. Danny tells us there are 2 sleeping bags in the tent, one of which being a kid-sized, and all the boxes around are empty, including the ones with the dairy farm logo. St. John's Dairy.
Boxes from the dairy here.
Yeah, those eyes definitely aren't making you seem fishy, Danny. To add to his ridiculously obvious guilt, we find a video camera behind one of the boxes, to which he reacts saying,
Battery's dead, though.
Oh, good. What else they got over here?
good. Now I understand building some suspicion of these guys that seem overly generous, but this is plain blatant that something's up. We take a look into the tent ourselves, finding Clementine's hat, and someone clearly isn't happy with us grabbing it.
Put your guns down. I ain't going back. You tell him Jolene ain't going back.
A visibly mentally disturbed lady named Jolene aims her crossbow at us, threatening us, believing we're part of the bandits. It's suggested that she was once part of the bandits, until they supposedly kidnapped Jolene's daughter and tortured her. With this, she left the group, finding herself in the woods where she lost her mind. She threatens to shoot us in the nuts and string them up on the tree if we don't leave, but Lee wants to know why she has Clementine's hat. She believes that Clemmy is her daughter and that we've taken her from her, but despite Lee's attempts to defuse the situation, she continues to threaten us.
Then I'm gonna head down to that farm and shoot every goddamn person I see. Go on. Tell him, boy. Tell him what you got in mind. Ugh.
What? When we arrive back at the farm, we catch up with Brenda, who's been observing Kenny and Lily arguing once again. We ask how Mark is doing, and she says he's doing great, being her best patient yet. We ask to go in to see him, but she insists we take our time to relax, and he'll be out soon, with dinner almost ready. We head into the barn to check up on Clemmy again, who stood with Catcher, Duck, and Andy with the farm cow. Clem looks to Lee for permission to pet the cow, almost as if she views Lee as her dad now. I even tried checking in on Duck for once.
What's this thing?
Daddy said it's called a salt lick. Yeah, but don't lick it. It's gross.
Did you lick it?
I don't know.
There's a door at the back of the barn that's locked up, and Kenny approaches us, saying he doesn't like that something's being hidden behind it, especially as Andy locked it up even tighter when Catcher came into the barn. We agree with Kenny to find a way into the back room, so he works on distracting Andy while we look for tools. Outside, in a toolbox, we find a multi-tool, which we use to turn off the generator, removing the belt so it won't boot back up. As the power goes down, Andy comes outside to try and fix the generator, giving us the chance to find out what's behind the locked door. The dinner bell rings, and Duck's impatience means Kenny can't stay with us, leaving us to have a look ourselves. We take the screws off the latch to get open the barn door. What the fuck? The bear traps.
Boy, didn't you hear the bell? Dinner time.
What the hell you got in that back room?
Look, we have food here, but Danny and I still gotta do a lot of hunting.
Yeah, real believable, buddy. We head into the house for dinner, but with no Mark, we ask Brenda where he is, and she insists he's okay, and that she's already taken some food up for him. But with extreme suspicion of this family, Lee says he's off to wash his hands, before sneaking upstairs, finding a light leaking out from underneath this bookshelf. Behind it, he finds a door, which, when opened, reveals the main course for the evening. Oh my fucking god. We rush downstairs to stop Clem from eating the meat, but in our shock, we struggle to get our words out, with Clementine munching into Mark's legs. But despite our claims, Duck still seems pretty happy to be eating his dinner. Larry becomes annoyed at us for not showing manners to Brenda for cooking us a meal, but our accusations of a legless Mark causes Brenda and Danny to confess. They pull their guns on us, even grabbing Clementine by the hair. Just as it keeps escalating, Mark shows himself to the group. We gain consciousness in a meat fridge, locked in with Kenny, Clem, Lily, and Larry, who is once again absolutely outraged. He blames us for not telling the group in time about the human meat, and despite Lily telling him to calm down, he continues to stress himself out, ultimately passing out onto the floor. Lily checks his pulse to find him not breathing, causing Kenny to become concerned that he might turn into a zombie. And the last thing we want in a locked meat fridge is Larry, the massive ogre, trying to eat us. We try our best to help Lily with resuscitating her dad, but our efforts come short when Kenny absolutely crushes his fucking head. What the fuck?
Kenny, what the fuck?
I'm so sorry.
I was absolutely baffled when Kenny did this. I know he wanted to kill Larry to stop him from turning, and maybe to stop him from coming back to life anyway, but this was the most insane shit I have ever seen. With both Lily and Clementine quite understandably upset with what they've just seen, we're left to ourselves to figure out a way out of the fridge, discovering that this AC unit could be screwed off, and Clem could easily fit through. But without our multi-tool, we're forced to loot Larry's corpse to Lily's dismay, finding his coins which we used to undo the screws. We pick Clemmy up for her to climb through the unit, making her way to the other side, unlocking the door for us. Kenny runs off without a plan in order to go save Catcher and Duck, so we leave Clementine to look after Lily in the fridge. We get a better look of the back room containing jars of organs and the altered bear traps that we saw at the beginning of the episode. This room may come in handy for us though, as where else to get a weapon to take out your future killers than in a fucking human slaughterhouse. Lee and Kenny sneak through the door, planning to grab Danny's gun while he sits on watch. We get inches away from reaching it before Andy appears to talk to Danny about us. We quickly hide in one of the barn stalls to formulate what to do next, which is when we take another peek outside. Yeah, bitch! Sickle to the chest! Oh! Danny pulls the sickle out like it didn't even graze him, lining up his gun ready to shoot Lee. Kenny hides and watches, only waiting for Lily to jump in, delivering more sickle slashes, forcing Danny to stumble into a bear trap that he'd set up for us. We give Kenny a stern look for leaving us to be killed there, but hearing Catcher's scream forces him to run off before he can apologise. We grab a pitchfork, ready to end Danny, as the clearly mentally unstable man tells us that we won't kill him, because if we do, we won't be able to eat him, as if that's how everybody works now. No threats to Lee will work though, as we drive the pitchfork into his chest, unfortunately with Clem seeing it in the background. Catcher can still be heard screaming, so before we can explain ourselves, we must continue being the hero. Carly and Ben return to the farm after noticing we'd been gone for a while, so we send them round the back to help defend us, and we head up to the house following the sounds of Catcher screaming.
Danny, is that you? What's going on out there?
Yeah, it's me.
Nice, that didn't work. Unfortunately, the failed impressions don't seem to work on Brenda, who has Catcher at gunpoint as we enter the house. We slowly edge our way towards her, doing our best to calm her down in hopes of releasing Catcher. That is, of course, until we notice Mark, slightly more zombified than before, reaching out for Brenda at the top of the stairs. As we get closer and closer to her, she eventually backs up enough for Mark to get his revenge, still coming of use to us in his rotten state. It still isn't all over though, leaving with Catcher to find Andy holding Duck at gunpoint. Kenny sprints towards Andy, only to receive a bullet in the stomach. Okay, can I take a brief pause in this tense moment to truly appreciate the environment for this final scene? The weather and sky are done so amazingly, and the heavy rain, wink wink, matches the characters' raw emotions so perfectly, making for an outstanding setting for the final part of the episode. Andy tells us that all we needed to do was give them the gas they wanted, and this wouldn't have happened, and his bullshit is cut short by a bullet to the face by Carly. It seemingly only hit his ear though, so as Duck is freed, we begin our fight, wrestling with Andy down his hill. He gives us a kick to the head as we try to get up, before switching on the generator and slowly edging Lee closer and closer to the electric fence. Lily!
Lily!
Nice! We give him a few knuckle sandwiches, seeing as we cut his other dinner short, and tell him that his mum and brother are both dead. With everyone watching on, we decide to leave the broken man on his knees, as a horde of the undead slowly close in to bring the farm to its end. We all leave to return to the motel, updating Carly on what happened, as well as explaining to Clem that we had to kill the people at the farm, as they would have killed us themselves. Just as the episode comes to its end, Duck becomes useful for quite possibly the first time yet, finding an abandoned car, full of food and other goods, setting the group up nicely for the future. Clementine would rather us not take the food in case someone is coming back, so we side with her and watch the rest of the group take it, heading into episode 3. The third episode begins with Lee and Kenny back in the streets of Macon, looking to loot the rest of the medicine that was left at Lee's family pharmacy. Kenny is more than ever set on moving from the motel, after he believes we have almost exhausted everything there is left in the area. He hops on top of this truck to make his way through the back, but the flimsy ladder breaks, requiring us to move this army vehicle over to climb up with instead.
Help me get out.
Jesus Christ. The screaming woman has attracted every zombie in the local area, and instead of taking her out, Kenny suggests we use her as a distraction, especially as she just got herself bit before we could intervene anyway. We agree, heading into the pharmacy as the lady continues to draw attention to herself. She gives us time to collect the remaining medicine until finally the screaming stops, and now the attention's on us. The zombies break down the door immediately, collapsing on Lee, and once again, Kenny does nothing to help. Look, Kenny, you're a great character, but you're really letting yourself down with all this sitting and watching. Do something! It then happens again, as an army zombie attacks us just before we leave, forcing us to wrestle it ourselves before impaling it on a rod and finally leaving the pharmacy. Back at the motel, Clemmy shows us her newly decorated walkie-talkie, which is still broken from the first episode, as we head into Lily's room to show her the haul that we found.
It's suicide out there.
We'll die in here.
You're right. you could see someone sleeping and kill one of us. At it again, are we?
With another Kenny-Lily argument ensuing about the idea of leaving the motel, Lily loses her chill again, claiming someone has been stealing from the group's supplies. We quickly follow up with her about these stolen supplies, and she confirms that some medicine has been going missing, but the only potential clue she has being a broken flashlight, so we begin our investigation. Duck was sat outside the door listening in, and he insists in helping us search for clues. Before we have a look around though, we head up to speak to Carly, and she thinks it'd be wise for us to let the rest of the group know that we're on the way to prison for murder before the apocalypse started. Still, until now, only Carly and Lily are aware, and with Lily's current outbreaks of anger, it'd probably be a good idea to let people hear it from us rather than her. We agree, and Lee receives a kiss from Carly as an incentive.
Don't call me small.
Oh! We go around the remaining group, which was smaller than I'd even realised, first telling Kenny and Katja, who take it rather well, even with Kenny's important questioning.
I was, on my way to prison 3 months ago.
Wasn't for touching kids, was it?
It wasn't.
We head over to Clem next, first asking her about the broken flashlight.
No, did Duck say I did? He's just always blaming me for stuff.
Like what?
Putting a bug on his pillow?
Did you do that?
Yes.
We break the news to Clementine and she understands what we did and gets back to her leaf sketching. We finally tell Ben too before going back to investigating the missing supplies. We find a pile of broken glass beside a wall with a pink X drawn on in chalk, so we ask Clementine if she happens to own a piece, but she says she lost it, which is when Duck calls us over to show us the chalk he'd found over by the gate. We leave Duck hanging before opening up the gate to find a small vent just outside the motel containing a bag of medicine supplies. We show Lily the bag, and as she tells us of her disappointment, we overhear shouting from outside. The bandits are at the motel with everyone on their knees, claiming we broke a deal with them, which we were all unaware of. Lee comes out to calm them down, distracting them from Lily, who headshots the leader, allowing Carly to run to her gun to take out 2 of the sidemen as we shoot the final runaway in the ass. It certainly doesn't end there though, as dozens of them appear from the woods, forcing open the gate, almost taking Ben out too. It looks like Kenny's plan will finally work as he hops in the RV, with us taking out multiple bandits to give Ben and Carly space to run for it too. On the other side, more bandits push in towards Katja, Duck and Clem, but we won't let anything happen to Clementine, killing the intruders and saving her. But a straggling zombie takes Katja and Duck down. Fortunately, we take it out, allowing Katja and Duck to run to safety, and Lily lets her motel get overrun as she joins us in fleeing the bandits. Lily is far from happy about losing everything we had back at the motel, and she immediately wants to know who it was slipping the medicine to the bandits. She then pursues Ben, trying to intimidate him into owning up for it as well, and Ben is clearly overwhelmed by the whole situation. Kenny has to pull over with a walker trapped underneath the front of the RV, which gives Lily even more of a chance to rip into Carly and Ben.
Let's just get back in
That's
the
not
RV.
happening. You think you're some tough bitch, don't you? Like nothing can hurt you. But you're just a scared little girl. Get the fuck over it. Take a page from Lee's book and try helping somebody for once.
Now, what the fuck's the problem?
Oh my god! I was so upset when this happened, and utterly shocked too. Carly was becoming more than just a side character in this episode, and her relationship with Lee was becoming much stronger, allowing her so much potential to become an important character in the rest of the game. But with Lily's inherited uncontrollable anger, we have no option but to leave her at the side of the road, for the safety of the group. Something I look forward to a lot with the future seasons of this game is whether or not we'll come across these characters again. Like Glenn, Lily leaves the game without having her death confirmed. I'd love for us to see these characters again at some point, even if it is just their zombie alternative walking past the screen. I guarantee this probably does happen with some characters, and if it does, don't spoil it for me, okay? Alright, back to the game. As if the group wasn't already small enough, Katja tells us to come to the front of the RV. Back at the motel when her and Duck were tackled to the ground, Duck had been bit, and he is already looking worse for wear. I did always find Duck annoying, but he'd started to grow on me a bit, and I just know how this will affect Kenny too. Kenny wants to keep moving until it's truly time to deal with it, so we head back to break the bad news to Clementine.
Duck is bitten.
Huh?
He got bit by a walker trying to escape the motel.
I don't feel good.
We come to a stop at a railway line, with a mostly derailed train in our way. We decide that the train may be the best way to make it to Savannah, so we all get out for us to have a look at seeing if it will start. Duck is looking even worse now, and it won't be long till something will have to be done about him. In the boxcar of the train, us and Ben find a mattress, suggesting someone may be living here, but with the train looking as abandoned as it is, we decide to continue searching for a way to start it up. We find a bottle of water to give to Duck, and head up to the driver cab of the train. Inside is a slumped over body, and with caution, we discover the guy has already been put out of his misery. So there's no zombie scares to be we had just yet. Ben presses the big flashing button to release the brakes to the train, making Kenny's face light up for the first time in a while. With Kenny nominating himself for driver duty, Ben heads out to keep an eye on the kids, while we continue to find out how to turn the engine on. Conveniently, on the other side of the compartment, we find a notepad labelled engine starter, but slightly inconveniently, the instructions have been torn off. We notice some indents, however, of what was written before, so we copy Clementine's idea of leaf rubbing to get a sketch of what was underneath, using a pencil that we'd found in the cup holder of the RV. We're left with markings on the page of the engine startup instructions. We flick all the correct buttons, and with that, the train's ready to go. We open up the engine doors again to find some tools which may come in handy, so we pick up the most awesome sounding one in there. I guess I'll just take the spanner. No, monkey wrench! That's the best tool ever. Give me monkey wrench. We try setting off, but the carriage is attached at the back, so we head over to release it using our newly acquired monkey wrench. As we turn around to go back over to Kenny, we get interrupted by a new voice. But luckily for us, Chuck here is very chill. In fact, he's already introduced himself to everyone else, even giving the kids some candy. Oh, and Ben as well. Duck starts coughing up, with Chuck offering to help in any way he can, leaving Kenny to silently mourn knowing what has got to follow. We double check with Clem that the candy Chuck gave her was not a razor blade in disguise, before heading up to Kenny, who's all ready to leave for Savannah. Chuck agrees to come along, seeing as we're technically taking his home with us anyway, and everyone starts to come up onto the train until Catcher comes over with Duck. He is visibly struggling far more already, and even Kenny is in shock at his state. Catcher doesn't think it's right to keep him going anymore, but Kenny is trying his best to pretend it isn't happening, and through his determination, we get the train going. But it's not long into the journey that Duck begins to cough up blood, and Catcher pleads for us to order Kenny to stop the train. Kenny insists his son will be okay, that it's just a scratch, and that he'll make it through it. We realise that he blames himself for not being there to save his son at the motel, and as a man who has proven throughout the whole game so far as someone who will do anything and everything to put his family first, he sees himself as a failure. He still blames himself for letting Herschel's son die at the beginning of the game, seeing this as a punishment for his mistakes. With reassurance and kind words, Lee manages to get Kenny to stop the train as he prepares to say goodbye to Duck. Catcher insists that they need to stop Duck from turning. We volunteer to be the one to send him off, as no parent should be forced to be the one to kill their own child. Catcher and Kenny take him away to the forest, away from Clementine, to say their last goodbye to their son.
Look, Clem, things are... What the...
Oh shit.
Ben, take Clementine
Oh
into the
shit.
tent. Go. It'll be fine.
We rush into the woods, following the sound of Kenny's shout to find the wrong person dead. As if things couldn't get any worse for Kenny, Catcher finds herself unable to go on anymore, with everyone dropping like flies around us. Kenny takes a look over at Duck, saying his final goodbyes, as Lee sends him off to be with Catcher. Kenny, full of tears, heads back to the train without a word as we set off again. We sit down with an upset Clementine, who doesn't want to talk much, but does tell us of something Chuck said.
That would happen to Duck would happen to me.
The fuck he did.
Swear.
What?
Sorry.
Outraged, we storm over to Chuck, demanding he explains himself. It seems we may have caught it out of context, and he advises us on how to keep Clem alive in this unforgiving world. We start off by teaching her how to shoot, and with practice, she manages to nail it. We then tell her that we should probably keep her hair shorter, since Andy back at the farm was able to grab it and pull her away. We trim it down, leaving her with 2 little bunches, and we head back to the front to hand Chuck his whiskey bottle that we'd found by his bed. With this, we're able to convince a sunken Kenny to leave his post for a little bit, to grab a drink, allowing us to grab a map from the driver's side. We go ahead and take this map to Clementine to see if she can show us where her parents may be staying in Savannah, with hope they may still be alive, which is when Ben interrupts my song to tell us something important. Shaboom, if I could tell you I'm the only one that you...
Huh?
What?
I was the one giving the bandits supplies.
What?
Oh my god. After all this time gone by and losing 4 members of our group, Ben owns up to Lee that he was the one that was sneaking medicine to the bandits at the motel. In a domino effect, he caused the raid which let Duck get bit and therefore Catcher's unfortunate death. He triggered Lily's accusations towards Carly without having the balls to own up to it himself, leading to Carly's death and hence Lily's expulsion from the group. We give him some stick and tell him to keep it to himself, especially as telling Kenny could put an end to Ben's time in the story. When we show the map to Clem, she recognises the hotel in which her parents were staying at before the zombies took over, and now she's much happier about what's to come. But the good vibes don't stick around, as Kenny brings the train to a halt, coming up to quite the roadblock. The massive tanker means continuing by train isn't likely, so we need to find a way around it.
We could walk? That's fucking stupid, Ben.
To our surprise, we see some welcoming new faces for the first time in a while, meeting Omid and Krista at the top of the bridge. Omid reckons we can easily sort out the blockage. We take a look around for anything of use, only finding some tape in the back of this van. Omid helps us come up with the idea to try and cut the tanker down, as it won't fall far enough to cause any damage, and we should be able to move on afterwards. Krista gets to know Clem a bit more, but she leaves with us to explore the nearby station. The door to the building's locked, so we lift Clemmy up to get a good look at the inside, only for her to manage to unlock the door as well. We spot a blowtorch behind the locked door, which would be perfect for cutting down the tanker on the bridge. We use Clem's size to our advantage again, which is when a zombie comes out of nowhere, along with his friend to try and eat us. We drop our gun, forcing us to retreat back, only for the monkey wrench to come in fucking clutch again. Sweet. The camera pans to Clementine, who seemed too scared to shoot the zombies attacking us, suggesting that even though we taught her how to shoot, we still need to teach her to not be scared anymore. The danger still isn't over, with another zombie finding its way out of nowhere, going for Clem, but we quickly get the door unlocked to rescue her just in time. We head back up on top of the bridge with Omid, repairing the leaking blowtorch with the tape we found earlier, and finally cutting through the tanker for it to fall. But it can't be that easy, can it? Just before we make the final cut, a horde of what must be thousands of walkers approach. We get the tanker down as everyone boards and Kenny gets the engine going. With leaking gasoline pouring onto the tracks and Lee and Omid needing to get away, we toss the blowtorch off the bridge and make a jump for the train. Omid shows some hesitation before jumping after us. Oh no, Omid, not like that. Krista jumps off to help him and they both chase the train, just about getting on in the nick of time. It looks like finally we'll make it to Savannah, and with a plan together for the first time to find a boat and Clementine's parents, nothing could go wrong now, right?
What? Can't wait for you to get to Savannah, Clementine. I got your parents right here, and you be sure to find me, whether Lee wants you to or not.
Holy shit.
I thought that fucking thing was broken.
So did I.
We finally made it to Savannah, walking around the seemingly empty streets. We've confiscated Clementine's walkie-talkie after we found she'd been speaking to someone about the group and our plans, even though we thought that the walkie-talkie was still broken. Whoever it was on the other side seems dangerous and is effectively trying to lure Clemmy in. Omid is really struggling with his leg, wounded from his failed train jump, and as we get closer to the water to find a boat, we hear a church bell ringing.
Keep moving. No one's ringing that bell. It's automatic. On a timer.
What kind of church bell goes off at 20 past the hour? Someone's up there!
The voice from earlier comes over the walkie-talkie, warning us to get off the street immediately. And as expected, the bells did nothing but attract a horde of zombies heading straight our way. Or as Chuck quite edgily puts it,
ask not for whom the bell tolls.
What are you yammering on about?
It tolls for thee.
we do our best to force our way through the swarm, saving Kenny from an ankle biter, but at a cost, with Clementine and Ben cornered by multiple other zombies. We shout for Ben to do something to save them, but the moron runs away, not learning from his past mistakes. We do our best to take out Clem's attackers, but with the overwhelming number of them, Clementine can do nothing but watch. As Chuck comes swooping in, bashing brains with his shovel. He tells us to go on and that he'll catch up with us. You better, Chuck, because you've already become a legend in this story. We find a house that might just be safe, locking ourselves in the backyard to hide away from the herd. We desperately need to find a way in, especially as Omid has just opened his leg wound back up after taking another tumble. A quick chat with Clementine to make sure she's okay, and a quick warning to Ben about putting Clem in danger again, and we're ready to find our way inside the house. Omid tells us that the pet door is locked, but thinks it opens up by a signal that is transferred when the pet collar comes close enough to the door. But the only sign of a pet around here is this doghouse, and maybe the grave right beside it. We dig it up, finding a rather unhealthy looking dog, which, lucky for us, has the collar we'll need to get inside, however gross collecting it might be. The collar unlocks the door just as we'd hoped, and as Lee pokes his head in to look around, Clemmy bursts in without a word, thankfully getting the door open without an issue. We head inside, Omid lying down to rest his leg, but Omid is still getting worse, with Krista believing his leg may be getting infected. We both also ask Clementine who the man on the radio is, and after some hesitation, she says he's a friend, and she doesn't think he's dangerous. She told him she wants to find her parents, and that he can help. Our questioning gets abruptly stopped by Ben shouting for us from upstairs, saying Kenny won't come down from the attic. When we go up, we find him on his knees, looking forward at the zombified child who used to live here. His resemblance of Duck takes Kenny back, and Kenny doesn't know if he's strong enough to put the boy down. We reassure him that he can, and it's for the best to prove to himself that he's able to do it too. Kenny gathers the courage to walk over to the boy, who is so weak he can't even move, and Kenny pulls the trigger to end the kid's misery. We carry the boy downstairs and out into the yard, placing him down and burying him with his pet dog.
Hey! Hey!
The man bolts off as Lee threatens to kill him, with the group rushing out to find out what's happening. We all decide that we need to leave as soon as possible, deciding that having our own personal stalker is not an ideal circumstance. We agree to head out with Kenny down to the waterfront to find a working boat to make our leave, telling Clem to stay behind with Ben, who we definitely can't trust on a potentially dangerous mission. As we come nearer to the water, we hear the bells ringing again, but this time nowhere near to where we currently are. The zombies this time stroll right past us, and with the gap opened up, we rush towards the boat, only to find the plan might not quite work out.
We need to start thinking about a plan B.
Kenny insists we can still make it work, somehow convincing himself that this wreck of a boat could get up and running again. He suggests we use the telescope to scout out the area, but it needs coins to work. Before we go looking for some, we address the elephant in the street. The huge mound of rubble with zombies impaled on long spikes, built as a warning to any outsiders. We bash this newspaper locker to find a few coins, which we then use to unlock the telescope, spotting someone climbing down the building across the street. We take cover with Kenny, assuming it could be the person over the radio, and then sneak over to the stall and ready our weapon, only for us to be absolutely played and have our jaw spun, with someone unexpected coming to the rescue.
No!
Clemmy!
Clem?
Please, don't hurt him!
The masked person reveals their identity and introduces themselves as Molly, and after seeing Clem, she acknowledges we aren't from Crawford, which after swiping Kenny's legs out, tells us is a community that's been running the most of Savannah since the beginning. They are a ruthless group that have looted basically everything in the city, including vehicle parts and fuel. They only allow the strongest survivors in their group, excluding anyone with any illnesses, the elderly, and children, which of course is why she realised we aren't part of Crawford. Molly tells us that she was the one ringing the bells around town, using them to distract the zombies, giving her time to loot areas with some safety. After explaining that we'd come down to Savannah to find a boat, she laughs at us, telling us that all the boats went after the first day of the apocalypse, and she suggests we rethink our plan. Our plan immediately has to change anyway, as the distraction of the bell is running up its time, and a herd starts heading our way. We rush off with Clementine, convincing Molly to help us, giving her and Kenny a lift onto a balcony, but with Lee failing to climb up and the swarm closing us down, Molly throws her grappling hook to us, allowing us to lift open the manhole to keep living another day. There is a fair few of the undead hiding down here, in the way of the exit, but luckily for us, they're distracted with their dinner. We find a valve to change the water flow of the pipes down here, and the loud noise of the crashing water drags the zombies away, giving us time to run for the exit, not before taking a look at the zombies' lunch.
Chuck, you must have tried to hide out down here.
It's a shame we didn't get to see more of Chuck. He seemed quite the eccentric character, a bit old-fashioned, but with the smarts to have kept himself and others alive. His sacrifice will not be forgotten, being the reason that Clementine's still alive. Only one zombie stands in our way now, or so you thought. Our ankle gets grabbed by a walker hiding below, as we slash at it to release us, getting free just in time to spear the final zombie too. We find a ladder up high to potentially climb out from, but our failed Mario wall jump instead reveals a hidden hole in the wall, which leads us to a fallout shelter, conveniently stocked with food on the shelves. We open the next door in hope of more goodies, only to walk into what seems to be the beginning of an OAP bingo night. The old man, I guess that's not the greatest description, aims his gun at us, only assuming we came from Crawford. The lady behind him insists that he shoot us. Lee does his best to calm the situation, being able to take the gun from the scared old man. Reassured that we aren't from Crawford, the man introduces himself as Vernon, and the other lady as Bree. They tell us that they were once part of the community, but as we already know, their age got them kicked out and left to fend for themselves. With our persuasion, Vernon agrees to show us the way out through the maze of tunnels, finding our way back to the house. Krista runs downstairs to tell us that Omid is getting far worse, and she's truly concerned for his life now. Luckily enough, Vernon happens to be a doctor, and agrees to take a look to see what he can do. We still need to find Clementine though, and after searching the top floor and finding Kenny downing bottles of whiskey, I'm starting to lose hope about the stability of this group. Kenny is quite possibly losing his mind, after every part of his plan has gone to shambles. That is until we search the garden and finally find Clementine hiding in the garage.
What were you doing in there?
Exploring? And look what I found!
Oh yes, Kenny. With the boat found and a happy Kenny again, we need to formulate one final plan, and this time it needs to work. All we need for the boat to get running is a battery and some fuel, but of course, basically everything in the town has been used up, except for maybe Crawford. We decide our only choice is to sneak into it, grabbing some supplies and quickly getting out. With a map of the town, Vernon is able to figure out how to reach Crawford via the sewage tunnels, which he claims he knows like the back of his hand for whatever reason. If it wasn't already the best idea, Vernon tells us that they will definitely have plenty of medical supplies as well, which his people can use, but especially Omid. We decide to go when night falls, and as we prepare, Clementine becomes upset at us for leaving her again, telling us she should always be by our side, but as Crawford doesn't like children being there, it's even more dangerous for her to be there than us. Bree also joins us, as she knows the layout of Crawford the best. We assure Clem that everything will be okay, handing her our gun, in case either someone tries getting in the house, or in case Omid turns. We find our way there, and we're all prepared to silently sneak our way through to the supplies. That would be, if there was any sneaking to be done. The place is completely empty, and there aren't even any guards on watch. In fact, the first guard we see isn't going to be doing much work tonight. With even more zombies making an appearance, we rush towards the school building, finding safety in one of the classrooms, which coincidentally also has an armory too. Inside the room we find a map, which we can use to target the things we need, allowing us to split into groups to make this quick and easy. Bree and Kenny head off to get the fuel, Vernon and Krista split off to find the medicine, leaving us and Molly to get the battery, while Ben is left to try and open the locked armory door. We head off to the alley with Molly, who runs off without telling us where she's going. Finding our own way is a little tricky, but we spot a hole in the roof of this shed, which we can climb through to hop over the fence. We arrive at the garage quickly, but need something to help us lift open the door. And who better to help than Molly? Oh, that's not Molly. Oh, here she is. I think it'd be fair to assume she may have some vengeance against this guy. She does help us though, handing us a car jack to keep the shutters open. But come on, we're playing The Walking Dead. It's never this easy. A group of zombies topple over the wire fence, rushing us into cranking open the shutter and crawling inside. And somehow, the zombies just leave us alone. Probably one of my only complaints in this game is that the undead can't ever seem to pick between being completely dumb and blind, or if they have the mental capacity of Stephen Hawking minus the dwarves. This red car has a battery for us, but without power, we can't seem to lower the machine. Molly reluctantly lets us borrow her climbing hook thing, which we use to pierce his hydraulic hose, slowly lowering the car down for us. Well, partly. The car slams down to the floor, immediately setting off its alarm, giving every zombie nearby an invitation to come for a free meal. We are in a race against the clock to get the battery out, while Molly does her best to fend off any intruders. She takes the battery in her backpack, climbing up on top of the truck with us following suit. Our luck seems to finally be coming to an end, as we get completely surrounded, surely not too long until we become overwhelmed. That is until Molly gets the idea to shoot out the skylight, allowing her to climb up with a hook and then pulling us up and out too. We've completed our mission and returned to the school after leaping across rooftops, but Molly isn't done yet. She says that there's still something for her to do, as she keeps a hold of the battery to prevent us from leaving without her, leaving us nothing to do but to head back to the safe room. We're stopped by Kenny and Bree, who find themselves being chased into the building, with quite the crowd following them. The doors won't shut all the way, so we take the closest zombie out, blocking the doors using an axe through the handles. It looks like it'll hold for now, but we still rush back to the safe room with the newly acquired fuel. Back in the classroom, Ben stops us to talk. He feels extreme guilt for what he did with the bandits at the motel, and all the lost group members that followed his actions. We tell him Kenny would try and kill him if he knew the truth, so he reluctantly keeps his secret hidden for now. Vernon and Krista are still out getting meds, and worried they might be in trouble, we head for the infirmary. The door to the room is being completely surrounded by zombies, and although unorthodox, we decide to take them all on at once, just about shooting them all down before they reach us. Even after all the time they've been shut in here, we still need to do all the work, after they've been unable to open the locked cabinet with all the medicine inside. Seriously, why is Lee doing everything around here? We notice a video camera that had been directed towards the cabinet, so make the assumption that somewhere there must be a videotape of someone opening the lock, so that we can get the code. We look through some patient files that had been left behind, only to conveniently come across a tape. It doesn't come of use to us though, but we learn that this patient named Anna had found out that she was pregnant, and following the rules of Crawford, the pregnancy had to be terminated. She begged the doctor to just pretend she wasn't and let it go, but he insists, giving her a day to make her decision. Although we don't learn the cabinet code, we do recognise the doctor as the man who Molly had stabbed a couple times outside the garage. We head back out into the alley to find him, only to have our pants shitted by a zombie who was definitely not in that shed last time. We hop the fence again, getting provided with the best zombie kill of the game, as the doctor sets us up perfectly for the curb stomp. Just as we planned, we find another tape, along with a locker code, which we use back in the school to find another tape. It returns back to Anna and the doctor a day after the first video. She has no choice but for the pregnancy to be terminated, and as the doctor turns around, exposing the code for us, Anna gets up, grabbing a surgery tool and stabbing the man in the side, grabbing his gun as he falls to the floor. It turns out that the doctor eventually dying here is what sent the entirety of Crawford into shambles, with some help of Anna going entirely postal once she left the room. She apparently went on to take out a lot of the community with a gun she just took, and eventually the undead took over the place. Now knowing the code, Krista and Vernon are able to grab the medicine and head back to the group, leaving us to quickly watch the third tape. Ew. Whoa, what? It turned out to be even grosser than initially thought by my reaction. Molly actually used to be a member of Crawford and was, you know, with the doctor, in order for him to sneak medicine to Molly's sister who had diabetes. Obviously, this was against the rules for Crawford, sneakily keeping someone who wasn't considered healthy in the community. The doctor eventually tells Molly that he can't keep doing it, as someone will grow suspicious of the missing medicine. Just as we leave, Molly appears again from her adventure, and once again, the bells start ringing, which we take as our cue to leave the place. That is until Ben comes out of nowhere and almost lodges an axe in our heads. We ask him what the hell he's doing out here, and he tells us Kenny sent him looking for something to open the armory door with, considering none of the other tools worked, and that's how he found this axe. Oh, wait. Ben fucks it up again. The horde at the door storm through, with Molly picking off a few but still needing us to save her life. Ben's guilt takes over him again, and feeling like a failure, he finally owns up to Kenny.
It's been me all along, putting all of us in danger. Katja and Duck, it was all me. It was all me.
What are you saying?
It was me who made the deal with the bandits at the motor inn, slipping them supplies. I thought maybe I could keep them off our backs. When it got discovered, that's when they attacked. And that's when Duck...
Kenny is furious, lashing out at Ben, saying he'll beat the shit out of him when we escape. And with the boat not big enough for all of us, he says Ben is not welcome on. The group start voting on whether or not Ben should be left behind, but I can't say here is the best place to make our democratic decisions, as the zombies finally burst through the classroom door, ripping into Brie as if she was a pale French cheese with a rind of white mould. We all dashed through the armory door, which only offered us a couple more bullets to our supply. With the door unable to hold for much longer, it's time to make our final break up the stairs, with Kenny coming in clutch once again to hand us a shotgun that had been left behind. We completely wipe out the first few zombies as we back up the stairs, taking out a couple more until our fucking foot falls through. We fight off more oncomers, finally getting our foot out. We work our way up the stairs, axing these completely oblivious walkers and throwing them down the tower. We all make it to the top and start emptying out via the window, with the growls of even more zombies getting closer and closer. Jesus. Come on, Ben. Oh my god. Ben! Oh my god. Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
Climb up! Come on, you can do it!
There's no time! You have to go! Now!
Ben seems to accept that this should be the end of him, not wanting to be the cause of any other deaths. He even lets go of Lee's wrist, preparing to be dropped. I think at this point I started to realise why Ben did the things he did, and it's not because he's stupid or that he did any of it on purpose. The characters in the game seem to forget he's still a teenager, and a very scared one at that. He isn't necessarily built for the apocalypse, and having the weight of expectations on his shoulders, he fumbled under the pressure each time. He might have caused the death of others, but it didn't give reason for us to drop him. We help him up, and we all make our way home. A dead walker on the floor raises some concern, but Clementine runs downstairs to greet us. She asks us if we found her parents, to which we led her down, but she did protect the house and Omid, taking out that walker on the floor before it could get upstairs. Vernon gives Omid his medicine and pulls Lee aside for a quick talk. He doesn't think Clementine is safest with Lee and the others, considering the danger we always seem to get ourselves into. He offers to take care of her with the other elderly people by the fallout shelter, but there is no chance Clemmy leaves us, so we politely decline his offer. It seems like Vernon will be leaving us to return to his group, followed by Molly, who also decides that she does better on her own. We try to persuade her to stay, as she'd be a very valuable member, but she insists she's off, and the group is starting to get real small again. We catch up with Clementine, who wonders why Ben is acting different since coming back, and also asks us if there will be time to find her parents before we leave tomorrow.
But I don't think we'll have time. We really shouldn't stay here any longer. It's not safe. I'm sorry, Clementine. I'm so sorry.
We sit down to watch Clem, but leaving the walkie-talkie down might be a big mistake. We wake up to find Clementine isn't where we left her last, searching through the house without a trace of her anywhere, except her cap in the garden. We hear the static of a walkie-talkie nearby, finding it laying on the street. Oh my god.
No. No. No.
This moment happening at the end of episode 4 made the next hour of my gameplay so difficult, knowing what would have to happen come the ending. At no point either did I expect this to happen, and I give kudos to Telltale Games for having the balls to pull such an unexpected ending to Lee. The group come over to find us, which is when we reveal our bite. Despite knowing his future outcome, Lee still has Clementine as his #1 priority, and tells the group all to focus on finding Clem. We tell them about how Vernon had offered to look after Clem, and it's very likely that he took her. With that as our lead, everyone agrees to help us find her, but still leaving Ben behind, forcing him to keep an eye on the boat instead. We have never been in more of a race against the clock now, with mission Find Clem full steam ahead, bursting into the shelter that Vernon and his group were staying in. But the place is completely abandoned, and with seemingly nothing left behind. Growls of zombies seem to edge closer as they pass by outside, but some hope is restored when we hear a familiar voice over the walkie-talkie.
Are
Clem.
you all right? Where are you?
Hello, Lee.
If you're still watching, well done for sticking around. It's the final episode and it doesn't get much better than this. The man who has Clementine stops answering the walkie-talkie, leaving us with nothing but ourselves to save her. Krista asks us how our arm is feeling, and it's feeling much worse already. We don't know how long Lee has left, so every minute is valuable now. First step is to get out of the shelter, with the entrance we came in from being kinda blocked by walking corpses. We find a sorry, does that say rib spreader? Well, that puts a lovely image in my head. We use it as a car jack almost, lodging it in between the elevator doors, cranking it wider to open up a gap to get through. But the man who is slowly decaying and running out of energy can't be the best person to be put on manual labour duty, as Lee passes out onto the floor. We wake up sprawled out on a table, with a tie around our elbow and Kenny holding a huge fucking blade! Kenny reckons that taking our arm off could stop us from turning if it stops the spread of infection up our arm and to the rest of the body. Omid and Krista fear the blood loss could be fatal, but with limited time anyway, we say fuck it. We ready our arm again, Krista leaning over with the blade. I thought this was going to be a chop circumstance, but she is soaring through my arm. Why don't you chop, goddammit? Lee passes out again from the pain, waking up much later, with Kenny thinking he might have lost us. Even throughout the troubles we have had with Kenny, he has always been my boy, and it is going to break his and my heart when him and Lee split. The poor guy can't lose any more people important to him. Anyway, it's time to go. We head through the elevator doors and, sorry? The first task you give the armless man is to climb a huge elevator shaft ladder. We actually somehow climb it with relative ease, minus the falling zombie flying past us. After ringing another bell to clear the walkers outside the hospital, the four of us return back home. We can hear Ben talking from inside the garage, which had been locked off by a shovel, and when we open the door, we have nothing but disappointment again. What the fuck, man?
What are you doing? Don't get mad. The boat's gone.
No shit, it's gone.
Ben tells us that Vernon and his group were waiting for us to leave, which is when they jumped him and stole the boat. Kenny continues to rip into Ben as we go to head into the house, which is when Ben gives us my favourite line in the whole game.
Fuck you, Kenny! I am so sorry about Katja and Duck. I am! And I know I fucked up. But stop pushing me around and stop wishing I was dead! No! You know how they died. You said goodbye. I never got to see my family, my parents, my little sister. Do you get that? Your family is gone, but at least you had them to lose.
After all this time, Ben finally stands up for himself, making Kenny realise that not everything has to be about his losses, and that he needs to understand that Ben isn't just some stupid guy, he is a kid who has lost just as much as anyone else. The same trend continues in this game though, and with an awesome moment, a bunch of dead ones come crawling over. We sprint inside the house, with everyone needing to block the front doors. The zombies are acting as if it's Black Friday and humans are 90% off. We take a cleaver to their hands, allowing us to finally get the doors shut.
This place seems sturdy to me. I think we're fine.
These zombies know comedic timing, I'll give them that. As everyone runs upstairs, we take out a familiar face in Bree. It is. See ya, Bree. You're kind of a bitch anyway. Let's go! And rush upstairs to help Kenny try block the walkers off. With the blockade, we can use our combined 8 bullets to fend off a couple zombies, but with the wave just continuing, we're forced into the attic. We hear Clem on the walkie-talkie again, and she tells us she's okay, and she's where her parents were before the apocalypse. We need to rush to find a way out of this place before Lee turns, and as Kenny finds himself losing control, he launches a statue head at the wall, as it comes to pieces. As Kenny continues to bash through the wall with the coat hanger, we sit down with Krista and Omid as they thank us for showing them the bite when we did. We joke around with Omid.
If I were you, I would have been scared shitless.
If you were me, you'd be a foot taller.
Hey.
Before telling the two that if we don't make it and we get Clemmy back, we want them to look after her. The couple have proven to us that they can do it, and we know they'd make it their priority to keep her safe. We finally break through the wall to escape into the house next door and find the balcony outside a good spot to jump from to get to the next building. The jump from the balcony is easy enough, and we one by one make the jump, until Ben has to go.
Ben!
No! Fucking hell. Is he gonna be alright down there?
Ow! I'm okay. I'm okay. Just get me out of here.
Shh! Quiet, Ben, or they'll be on top of us.
Oh, he's covered in blood. What's happened?
We're gonna get your ass up.
He's been fucking impaled, hasn't he?
I thought you...
Yeah. Fucking hell, man. Jesus Christ.
Fucking hell. What is it? I'm okay. I'm okay.
We can get you up. We can,
Oh, God.
This death upsetted me far more than I expected, as Ben is left helpless in the alleyway after hoping he could make a positive impact for once. With zombies closing in, it's only right to put him out of his misery, but Kenny doesn't want to give up. Kenny is sick of losing people under his watch, so fights till the end to do what he can, until we hear one gunshot and lose Kenny for the rest of the game. I'm not that upset here, because I am positive Kenny can get out of this. We only heard one gunshot, and I heard no screams. Kenny will not die, I won't accept it. Lee believes the same as us, so doesn't lose hope. And with just 3 of us left, we near the hotel where we'll find Clem. A broken sign separates us from the hotel, and as Lee goes first across it, it's left inaccessible for Krista and Omid. We thank them for everything, but with time very low, we tell them it's got to be just us now, as we take the turn around the corner to the street of the hotel. Oh shit. We're just fucking walking through them all. Let's go, Lee. We make our way inside, the corridors eerily silent and seemingly untouched. We find the room after hearing some shuffling noises inside, and we take a step in.
I got us adjoining rooms.
Where is she?
I already told you she's fine.
The man tells us to empty our belongings on the table, so we leave our walkie-talkie, but hide the fact we still have our cleaver. He sits us down and tells us of his story.
Do you know who I am?
No. I don't know anything about you.
You wouldn't. People like you don't. A few weeks back, there might have been a station wagon in the forest.
Oh.
All sorts of food.
Shit.
Water.
That was him?
Things you need to survive.
The station wagon that the group took all the goods from back in episode 2, that was his. He'd taken his son hunting, although his wife said he was too young to go out. He inevitably lost his son, and when they came back to the car, they'd lost that too. After days of not eating, his wife lost it, leaving him taking her daughter with her too. And not a day later, he found them both dead in the road. He knows about how he killed Danny on the farm, and he knows about how he let the lady die in the street back in Macon. And he demands for us to realise that we can't look after Clementine. He tells us that there's only one ending here. He keeps Clementine and kills us too. He starts speaking to something in his bag, which is when Clementine takes a chance to slip out of the room. We gesture over to the glass bottle as she grabs it and sneaks over.
You're gonna like Clementine a lot, though. She's not Lizzie, but she's sweet. She wouldn't hurt a fly.
Yes! The man pins us down, but we kick him back, tackling him as he runs for the drop gun, and a long bout of struggling ends in us choking the man to death, with us finishing him off to stop him from coming back. Man, we were so close to a good ending, with Lee reuniting with Clementine again, seeing her happier than ever, but we can't be blinded by this moment. We all know what's to come. As we open the door to leave, we get spooked by a very up-close zombie, who ignores Lee, heading straight for Clem instead. We take him out, realising that because Lee is completely covered in guts from the journey in, the zombie dismisses him for one of them, and that's our way out of the hotel. So we dissect the walker and cover Clementine in the blood. The plan works as we steadily make our way through the crowd outside, only to be stopped by a very sorry sight. Oh shit. Oh, Mum and Dad. Oh, Clem. Shit.
Please don't be dead. Please, no. Lee.
Oh,
I was so
God.
scared. I thought you left me. I saw my parents.
Lee is looking far worse than before, skin turning grey and his eyes yellowing. With Lee anxious that he could turn at any moment, we try to help open the door slightly in case Clem needs to leave, but with no strength left at all, we're left hopeless.
Honey, my arm is gone because I cut it off.
Why would you do that?
Because I was bitten, Clem.
Please, no. No. That's not true.
Yes, it is.
We spot a way out through the office just ahead, but even that journey is difficult for Lee, who is now struggling to even stand.
I got you. You can lean on me if you have to.
I'm okay.
Oh, Clem.
Okay.
I thought I was helping by bringing you in here.
Oh, you did, honey. It's awful out there.
We try again to get up, but we're still hopeless. All we can do is talk Clementine through what she must do, using a bat to smash open the window and climbing over to unlock the door. She goes in and grabs the handcuffs to keep us stuck to the radiator if we ever turn. The zombie officer has keys and a gun on him, so we tell her to go for the gun first. Perfect timing comes in as the cop manages to get himself unstuck, throwing himself towards Clementine, who knocks over the pedestal to try and take out the cop. With blurred vision, we kick the bat towards Clem, who does all she can and finally kills the zombie, leaving her to share a moment for one last time with her dad of the apocalypse.
You're strong, Clem. You can do anything.
But I'm little.
Doesn't mean nothing. You're gonna see bad stuff, but it's okay.
My parents. It's so horrible.
I can't imagine, sweetie.
And now, you. Please. Please don't be one of them. Please don't become a walker.
There's only one thing you can do. You know that.
I don't know if I can.
You don't want to see me like one of them.
Okay, Lee. I can do it. I can.
Don't need it, Krista. They're outside of town, by the train. You remember how to get back there?
Yes.
Good. Keep that hair short.
I will. I'll cut it myself.
Great. Good. And also...
What is it?
No, don't worry. All right. Oh, it's you.
Me too.
This could be my last song, my final swan song, before the curtain call. And I hope I played my part well, for I know so well there's no one